Hi everyone, I'm Georgina.
I'm Billy.
We just thought we'd put a video together to explain a bit about us and about our studio and just, so you can come to know us a bit better.
Yeah, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy at home during this time of the COVID-19 restrictions. So Georgie, we've been working together for 6 months. It's nice to finally have you on camera and get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your backstory in terms of study, becoming architecture graduate you are today?
Yeah, so I always knew that I'd be in a creative field and I knew that whatever I did in my career and at university would be creative and hands-on. And so I actually started with a design degree. I was offered design at COFA, but chose to go architecture and direct that route before starting design really early on. Yeah. And I did a Bachelor of Environmental Design in Architecture at Griffith University.
Yeah.
And after the Bachelor, I decided that's definitely what I wanted to do and did Masters at Sydney after.
Yeah, so how did you find the two unis and what was the journey like?
So the Griffith University degree was, I was in the second cohort to go through, so it was brand new. It was a terrific new building and there was a real focus on sustainability because they could start from scratch and focus on some real world issues. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons I really enjoyed the degree. And the Sydney University degree was a little more traditional and I was able to, meet just a wide variety of people among both. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I studied at QUT here in Brisbane and it's a bit like Griffith, like one of the more hands-on universities. Other courses can be quite conceptual depending on where you do your study.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think there's strengths and weaknesses to both ways of doing things. So yeah, my journey was probably a little bit more convoluted than Georgie's. Like I sort of stumbled into architecture and then took a year out, like sort of feeling unsure about whether I wanted to do it. And then it wasn't until I went to Cambodia and sort of found the purpose and the big reason of why I can do architecture to help others and understood that. Then I came back and started working harder, learning more and found the spark to sort of be passionate and to fight for good outcomes in architecture. So that's...
like I already know this backstory, but do you want to tell us about who you met in Cambodia?
So
that architect who sparked.
Yeah, in 2011, just volunteering for a month doing things like English teaching and so on with my church. And it was in the guest house that we stayed in, $17 a night with breakfast included. But every room of that guest house had a particular theme and it was just something very simple but very beautifully designed and very intentional in terms of what each space is and how it felt. And so what I did was I kept annoying the guest house manager and I said, Nicole, I need to meet the person who designed this. And eventually I got the better of her and she set up a meeting with Martin, the Swiss architect. And so Martin mentioned to me that, if the chance came up for me to go back one day to help out, he'd love to have me. And once I met him and once I saw how architecture can be so powerful as a source of good and understood that, then that really sparked what I have been doing ever since, I think.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. I guess because architecture happened so organically for me, I wanted to go into something creative. Yeah. And for the first probably year of the degree, I wasn't even sure. Yeah. Like, is this a good fit? But
definitely. And now that I'm sort of tutoring design a little bit back at university, I do see how it's a course that you need to have a maturity. Yeah. Maybe when we're 17, if we're going straight from high school into something like architecture, it's very difficult. Like you sort of need some life experience and some of that drive and sort of discipline to do well in it. So if someone was thinking of studying it, like, what would you say to them?
So I guess I could speak on behalf of school leavers because that was my experience. I think if you're interested in the arts, in the humanities or in physics and the way things are put together, those all come together into architecture. And so interest in those, that might be something that you want to consider.
And I think in practice life, we realize like writing and speaking and sort of those skills that you don't think are part of architecture are actually very critical.
Yeah, the soft skills.
Yeah.
So architecture is predominantly a type of communication, or at least in the profession, we spend our days communicating to the builders and the engineers and our client. And so being able to communicate clearly and effectively is like the keystone of the profession. Yeah.
If you're like me, I think the way that I think is I need to understand why I'm doing something. So for me, when I realized architecture is a profession that's all about helping people, like on the outside looking in, it looks like it's about maybe design or making beautiful things or just a building. But when you think about it, it is a profession that's predominantly about looking after people, like making space or safe spaces. Or when you think about accessibility, you're trying to treat people equally and with dignity. And so these sort of big picture things of helping others is something that I find really rewarding. I think, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No,
and
not at all.
If you have that sort of passion for it, then I think uni it's hard work, but it'll be a really rewarding experience. If you don't, and I see that in a lot of students, then it's a huge struggle, and it will, it's not a thing that I think everyone should study.
Yeah. And I think even in some of the marketing for some architecture degrees, before you've actually gone through and studied it and before you work in the profession, a lot of people have this misconception that it's very glamorous and it's about the external qualities. Like you think of skyscrapers and you think of big pavilions. You're not actually thinking that architects are kind of just creating, like we're creating space. What we're actually dealing with is the negative. And so, we're dealing with the way people work and interact with their surroundings. We're not just designing this object that's in a vacuum, and we can't take away the humanity and that human side of architecture. Yeah.
I think we've spoken for long enough, so thank you for spending time with us. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below, or just get in touch with us via our website, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. It's been fun, so we'll do this again another time.
Yeah, of course.
No problem. See you next time.
See ya.